Hi, and welcome to I'm Your Target Demographic. 3 things have happened lately which got me thinking about a certain topic. And that topic is who is worthy to carry Thor's hammer Mjolnir. The first thing that happened is that in the Thor comic books, it's been revealed that a woman is going to be able to carry the mantle of Thor. And so this caused a lot of controversy, but really it's a super cool idea. But we don't really know who this person is, but we do know that Thor will somehow become unworthy. At about this same time, I'm playing the game Marvel's Avengers Alliance, which I have a video about, which you should watch. And in that game, there's a storyline about who's worthy, and so a character like She-Hulk in the game is considered worthy of this hammer, so it got me thinking about this. And then lastly, the footage from Avengers Age of Ultron that played at Comic-Con, which haven't been able to see, it supposedly shows all the Avengers sitting around and competing with who can lift the hammer. So all of these things together get your mind thinking about, well, who's able to lift the hammer? In the first Avengers movie, you see the Hulk try, he can't even budge it. So in the history of the comic books, who are some characters that have been able to lift it? Before we dive in, let's cover 2 things. 1, what is the hammer? Thor's hammer Mjolnir was created by dwarves using the core of a sun. So basically a star. The center of a star was condensed into the hammer Mjolnir. And then Odin, Thor's father, inscribed on it that anyone that wields the hammer is worthy of the power of Thor. Did Odin put that on there? Someone put that on there. Also, this video is covering one universe of the Marvel library, and we're covering what's called the 616 universe, which is kind of the mainstream canon of Marvel. So there's a lot of different, like in this world, or in this universe, they're all zombies. In this universe, this happened. So it gets a little confusing, so we're covering just the 616. Now, before we get into the interesting people that have wielded the hammer, there's a lot of really uninteresting people that have had it. So we're not going to cover various alter egos of Thor, so people like Donald Blake, Eric Masterson, who is known as Thunderstrike, Red Marvel, which is just kind of another guy that kind of had the hammer for a while. They all have beards, they all have long hair, they all kind of look the same. Nothing super special about those people. We also have characters before Thor that use the hammer, so like Odin can carry the hammer, and then Odin's father, Bjorn, can also have the hammer. But again, not super interesting. So let's get to the meat of it. That sounded really creepy as I said that. First, we're going to talk about Storm. Yes, Storm from the X-Men is able to wield the hammer. Now here's the story. Loki tricked her by giving her a fake hammer called Stormcaster. And when she used this hammer, it gave her all these godly powers, but she realized she was being manipulated by Loki, so in an instance, she grabbed Mjolnir and used it to shatter Stormcaster. So she only used it for that brief moment to destroy the thing that was manipulating her, but it showed that she was able to. And when she had those powers, she was like the Queen of Thunder. It was super cool, but she didn't want to be manipulated by Loki, so one can only assume the power that she could hold if she really used the hammer. And most people can't even get the hammer to budge, so Storm being able just to use it for that one motion is still really miraculous. Next up, we have a character named Beta Ray Bill. Beta Ray Bill was chosen by his race to become essentially a protector. So they kind of gave him all these cybernetic implants, and while they went into the stasis sleep, he was the one that was going to protect them. So they're in this stasis sleep, they're going kind of through space, their paths cross with Earth, and Thor goes out to see what's going on. He encounters Beta Ray Bill, they fight, and Thor loses his hammer, and Beta Ray Bill is able to pick it up. So then we decide, wow, like, he is worthy, like something special about this. Thor learns the story. Odin ends up creating another weapon for Beta Ray Bill, which is called the Stormbreaker. And Beta Ray Bill now uses the Stormbreaker to have power similar to Thor, but he uses it to protect his people. And he's had a lot of run-ins with other villains and whatever. So, super interesting character. I'd love to see him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe someday, but I don't know if Thor 3 is going to lead us to a place that would make sense. Now we have a character that didn't really wield it for long, and it's not a super interesting character, but it's another Avenger named Wonder Man, which is not a super cool name. Wonder Man is essentially a scientist that his body became pure energy, and so now he has almost unlimited strength. He's able to kind of dissipate into atoms and whatever. Super powerful, so he doesn't even really need the hammer. He's basically immortal and indestructible already. But we have panels from a comic book a long time ago where he does wield it. I don't really know the context. All I found was this image. But it looks like Wonder Man at some point was able to wield Mjolnir. Now, the weirdest character that has ever wielded the hammer. There was a guy that was cursed by gypsies and became a frog. By accident, one of Thor's goats that kind of leads his chariot stomped on Mjolnir and kind of cut off a splinter of it. This guy, cursed to become a frog, lifted up this splinter and it became a kind of miniature version of Mjolnir, and he became Throg, which is Thor plus frog equals Throg. And he then joined a group called the Pet Avengers, where they fought off villains and they defeated kind of a huge army of dragons. Very strange storylines, but Throg is a real character in the Marvel Universe. Now, if you were to guess who might be worthy enough to lift the hammer, it would likely be Captain America Steve Rogers. And there's actually two kind of moments where he did use the hammer, kind of at least for a moment. The first was back, he was in the costume of what was called the U.S. Agent, but he did use the hammer to fight off villains, and that was a long time ago. But again, recently, in the story Fear itself, he also used Mjolnir to fight off evil. So I'm hoping that something similar to this happens in either Avengers 2 or Avengers 3, that we see Chris Evans, his Captain America, be able to lift the hammer. I mean, how cool would that be? That Thor is maybe incapacitated, all hope is lost, Captain America saves the day. Could be super cool. Now, I mentioned that we're only covering what's called the 616 universe, but in some other universes there's been some crazy characters, sometimes villains hold it, so like there's been storylines where Doctor Doom has Mjolnir, there's stories where Magneto is able to use it, he can kind of like throw it around using his powers and then he can hold it. Some very interesting things, but again, that opens up a whole can of worms that we don't really have time to cover all those things. Now, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if there was one other character that could lift it, in addition to Captain America, my argument would be for Groot. Groot has the strength, but he's also got the humility, the sensitivity, the self-sacrificing nature that he could potentially have all the qualities that Mjolnir is looking for. So that would be an awesome moment, maybe in one of these big battles against, Thanos or something, that Groot lifts up the hammer, could be incredible. So did I miss anyone? And who do you think is also capable of lifting the hammer? Either in the comic books or in the movies. Let me know in the comments below who else you think has those character traits that might be able to lift it. Or, what are some other people from other realities that use the hammer that you thought were a really cool idea? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if I did miss anyone, or if there's anyone else you want to hear about. Now make sure you head over to IamYourTargetDemographic.com. I do movie reviews, video game news, and other stuff just like this. Also make sure you subscribe to this channel to make sure you're getting up-to-date videos. Thanks for watching.